So one of the first reasons why a lot of people are saying there is a lot of cheating is just because of accessibility and ease with which people can cheat simply because PR prostitution is very rampant in Korea. It's something that surprised the hell out of me when I first came. There's so many places you can go. There's the Nore Town, which are like the karaoke places you can go, the room salons, massage parlors, so it's so much easier for people to step out on their marriage. There were some interesting statistics that came out, and that was about 40.5% of men in Korea viewed hiring a PR prostitute was not considered to be cheating, whereas 15% of women thought that it wasn't cheating, if you paid for it. And in the same survey, about 56.1% of men admitted to paying for those type of services in their life. And apparently the average of the people on how many times they've done it was about 6 times. So it was something that they had done multiple times. So one of the reasons why it seems like so many men have partaken in paying for those kind of services is because a lot of business meetings or boss or work sort of bonding dinners include going to the karaoke places or room salons, and there's apparently pressure from your superiors or your bosses to partake in those activities. But what happens a lot of time is the boss will say, hey, I'll pay for, a girl for you, which one you want. And a lot of men feel a lot of pressure to go along with that because if you don't, your superiors could sort of harass you into it. And a lot of people fear that later on, if there's some sort of promotion or anything like that, that they'll be looked over because they didn't participate.
Why don't they show this in the K-drama, nigga? In the K-drama, it's all, I grew up with her and she was my childhood friend of 20 years, nigga. And it's never the creepy boss in that nigga's ear like Joe Biden. Talk about some, you finna fuck her.
Right.
Imagine you work 12 hours and then you like, man, fuck, I'm tired, I'm finna go home. And then your boss comes over, he's like, nah, we're going to a celebratory dinner, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They serving nothing but alcohol. Not even beer, nigga, like just straight alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Some soju, some motherfucking, I don't know, whatever the fuck they drink in Korea. But it's just hard alcohol, back to back to back. And the nigga's like, no, I'm paying. So, you know what I'm saying? Get another round, nigga. As soon as you drink, halfway done, nigga's ordering another shot. And then after you've been there for about an hour or two, you drunk, you spinning, you're like, man, fuck, I want to go home. That nigga's like, okay, cool. But right after you fuck this prostitute in front of me so I can see, I need to know that you did it.
No way.
Wouldn't you be kind of upset if your wife started nagging you?
Upset. Yeah.
Like, I would come home and she'd be like, where you been, honey? You don't know where I've been, all right? You don't know what I do for this fucking family. No, I don't want dinner. Put it in the fridge. Bitch, stop talking to me, all right? I'm gonna take a shower and I'm gonna watch the day off. And don't ask me about it, all right?
I mean, there are even elderly women prostitutes who can solicit elderly people in parks. There is this phenomenon called the Baksa Ladies. And Bakas is like this Korean energy drink that old people like. And so apparently in the parks, they will ask older gentlemen if they would like to buy some Bakas. And then that's sort of how they started being called the Baksa Ladies. But these older women who sell their bodies are anywhere from 50s all the way up until 80s. Like, I think the oldest woman who was caught for selling her body in one of the parks was about 84. And it's very cheap too. The Baksa Ladies, their average fee is about 20 to 30,000 won, which is about 18 to 27 USD. So not very expensive at all.
$27, Grandma, no!
I might have to try it out. A deal is a deal. Grandma used to give out cookies. I ain't giving out cookies. No way.
Oh, man. Nigga, if I ever go to Korea and I see a whole bunch of old niggas hanging out at the park, I'm finna start shaming them. Get your freaky ass out of the park, nigga. This is for kids. Go home, nigga.
What if you just went to Korea and you just at this park, you had no idea. And you like, damn, all these lovely old ladies just keep offering me drinks.
So outside of accessibility, it seems like one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people turn to cheating is just the rise of sexless marriages. There's so much content these days, and it's one of the hot issues that a lot of psychologists and divorce lawyers and anybody who's just studying psychology or knows about it are talking about sexless marriages nowadays. It even has a slang term in Korean. They call it Sexless bubu. So I mentioned this in the video when I was talking about why marriage in Korea is hard. I mentioned how the previous generation didn't really allow their kids to speak up about things that made them uncomfortable, or they didn't really allow an environment for their kids to confide in them the things that were bothering them. And whenever they did, the parents would sort of get angry. So a lot of people learned to not really share their emotions or to really share like how they feel. And so it seems like over time, a lot of couples here drift so far apart, but still don't really know how to go about repairing the relationship to really get to like what the issues that they have are. And it feels like a lot of people here think that if they speak up about issues, then the person won't like them and then the relationship will crumble. But I think they don't really realize that not talking about issues is what makes the relationship crumble. But there are more people who are learning about couples therapy and who are opting to do that to repair their relationship and get back on the same page. But it seems like a lot of people just think, well, this is life. This is how we live. I can't get a divorce, so what am I gonna do? Find someone outside of this relationship that makes me feel happy. But there are some specific things I think that happen in Korean society that don't help couples to actually connect in the way that they need to. And I think the first one is just working hours. Like if you are working all day every day and you don't have time to sit down and connect. You know, so many people are just so tired, like after 12 hours of working, when the weekend comes, they just kind of want to. So a lot of wives feel emotionally neglected from their husbands, so sometimes they could seek some sort of emotional support or connection outside of their relationship.
And emotional support outside of your relationship is not dick. It's
Yeah,
not dick. It's not.
not dick.
It's not. Make some friends, nigga. How come you don't go into like a knitting circle with a bunch of other married women? Like it's not dick. How is that emotionally helping you?
My dick is not emotionally supportive at all.
At all, nigga.
Bro.
Don't use that excuse. Talk about, oh, well, he was there to listen to my feelings, so you had to fuck him? You had to fuck him? He was already listening. Like you were getting what you wanted. Like.
So one of the biggest reasons that I've been hearing about these days as to why marriages eventually go down that road of becoming sexless is just because the qualities that people are looking for to get married in the first place don't allow for the deepening of the relationship. They tend to be very superficial. There's words that people say nowadays, like specs, they call it, as opposed to the quality of the relationship. Like, are they healed? How do they handle conflict? People tend to focus more on the superficial things here and how the person looks on paper when they get married. And apparently that's also fueled by the parents. In Korea, you have to have your parents' permission to get married. And a lot of the older generation born right after the Korean War is very gung-ho that everybody needs to be a doctor or lawyer. One reason that I heard why there could be a lot of cheating is because a lot of people feel pressure to be in relationships in Korea. Not so much anymore. I feel like that part of it is changing a little bit, but a lot of people just don't want to be alone. And a lot of restaurants, if you go to in Korea, you can't just go as one person. Like the minimum purchase that you get is for 2 to 3 people, and it's one big dish and like a selection of side dishes that go along with it. And so a lot of people don't want to just be alone. So sometimes they hold on to relationships that maybe aren't the best for them, where they don't match until they find someone else. Apparently, you know, in Korea after marriage, especially because mom-in-laws tend to be very enmeshed with their children, is they don't tend to allow that couple to have that time to be by themselves. And there's this sort of guilt that Korean people feel for just being, you know, happy with their partner and figuring out things and not including their parents in their married life. There's sort of this pressure to allow everyone to be sort of enmeshed together, and that sort of keeps a wedge between the spouses from actually forming the emotional bond that they need. And it seems like a lot of people are sort of guilted into not doing so and to continue to focus on their parents even after marriage.
My thoughts is good on the Korean people for actually going to seek therapy for their problems, trauma and whatnot. It's a very serious thing. And then if you don't get your traumas reconciled, you can pass them on to your children. And as you can see, there was a whole generation of people who didn't talk about their problems, and they just took on whatever their parents asked for them. She said, I forgot the term she used, but everything was like parent-centric, making your family proud, making your family name proud. getting the social recognition, the social self-esteem that you would like, and not really doing anything for yourself, and stuff like that. You start having a midlife crisis. So that's a good thing that they're working on that. Just no freaky ass grandmas in the park. All right, like that is disturbing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what if you just walk with a dog and this bitch just like, hey, Sonny boy, you want some pussy? No. Why you
Why she sound like the Joker?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of a hot take. I think it's good that Korean society pressures people to be together, and I think just society should be pressuring people to be together, because in general, it is not good to be lonely or single. Because if you think about most aspects and cases and stuff like that, it is definitely better to be in a couple rather than by yourself. And I'm not saying that everyone should just be in a relationship just to be in one. I think the way that they get into relationships probably like needs work, but it is definitely better to have pressure to be with someone rather than without someone, because that alleviates a whole bunch of problems that we have as a society already. I do think they have a working problem. That 12-hour shit is, from what I understand, that is the norm, and that is a terrible way to kind of like to look, because the thing is, like, they don't even get paid for that overtime. Like, it's just you're just working. Yeah, your salary. Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, you just work it. So it's not like you have more money at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It's like you come in and you work your hours, and then if there's still more work to be done, you got to finish that work before you go home, and you're not
you
not getting paid for it. Huh?
You expected to work that extra, like,
yep, you're expected.
Like 4 hours?
Yep, you're expected.
Nah.
It is an expectation. And the thing is, like, if you don't do it, that, you can get passed up for promotion, you can get fired, all types of stuff can be used, saying, even though it's not stated in your contract that you should be working these hours.
Yeah.
It's expected of you to do it, and to do it for free.
And to do it for free? Nah.
For the free ski.
So I agree with you that it's better for society to encourage people to be together for all economic reasons. Also, it's also, and on top of that, social reasons as well. That would help alleviate a lot of things as well. The issue isn't that just like Korea or society in general is encouraging people to be together. Is that in the specific case with Korea, the ways in which they are encouraging people to be together is unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like the ways in which they expect people to be together and just accept it, kind of like robotic, kind of like commodification. Like, just get together so you guys can be good and produce as much value as possible for our companies. That's just not healthy at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and then like the whole aspect that she was talking about, like the parents being involved in the marriage and stuff like that, like to an extent, like your family should be involved in your relationship and, like, facilitating everything going on up until marriage. But for them to be so intrusive after the marriage, I think is probably like one of the biggest things. Because I mean, you hear it even in like Western societies and stuff too, like, the mother-in-law always being at odds with the daughter-in-law, that kind of thing. So it is very intrusive. I don't know how bad it is in Korean society, but from what I've seen from Western society, like, if it's worse than that, it's like, yeah, I could definitely see why they start splitting apart with the parents being too involved in people's marriage life. And then also just having that outside influence, because it's like, yes, sometimes like your parents can be right, but sometimes they just don't understand the dynamic that y'all two have. So when something does happen, they're like, hey, like, you shouldn't put up with this, or, oh, why don't they do this? Like that kind of thing. So it's like, like now you're having outside influences be in your head telling, like, hey, this should be an expectation, or hey, you shouldn't have to put up with this, or hey, you should draw a boundary here. And it's like, these are my parents. They probably have what's best in mind for me, but you're also supposed to be having what's best in mind for your partner. Because like,
I was gonna say, I agree with you as well. they mentioned how like there was a generation of Koreans who didn't talk about the issues because of their parents and whatnot, and because of that, like they don't know how to fix issues. They have a worldview that's not really centered on constructive navigation through
Mm,
social relationships and their own emotions or whatnot. They don't know how to talk about the problems, and so they drive a wedge between each other, and it just gets worse and worse.
mm,
These are the same individuals who parented this generation. You know what I mean?
mm,
So like, if that's the case, and the goal or a good amount of Korean relationships are centered towards these parents, and these parents have this worldview that's not focused on valuing uh, healthy relationship communication. You know what I mean? They care more
mm.
about the pragmatics. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the what she say? What word you use? The superficial. You know what I'm saying? Job stuff like that. Which is I don't think is necessarily superficial. It only becomes superficial when that's the crux of what you look for in a relationship. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like you're not even looking for whether or not you guys fit together or you guys enjoy each other's company. You just like on paper, this guy looks good to present to my parents.
mm.
You know what I mean? It's a very like job application type of relationship, marriage type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think they screwed over this generation because now they like I'm stuck in this marriage with this person. Well, stuck in this marriage with this person. I don't know if they can get divorced, but like we don't even get along, and we don't know how to work through it either. You know what
Yeah. I
I'm saying?
mean, it's kind of like the problems that we have here with like the previous generation trying to coach
Mm,
younger people, but like they also did everything wrong and were told all the wrong things. Cause it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you got
right,
women constantly in their 30s and 40s telling young women to go be hoes instead of, you know what I'm saying, instead of looking for your husband during college.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Because that used to be the norm. Is like women will go to college and like find their husband during one of those classes, and then they will shack up and then get
hmm
out the way. You know what I'm saying? Like there
yeah,
wasn't really a whole phase. And like the thing is, like they're telling younger women to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying, go out there and have your fun while you're in your 20s and then settle down in your 30s. I mean, by the time you get to your 30s, a lot of the
right,
men are jaded at that point. And so now
right,
you're dealing with jaded men. And the men that
exactly,
aren't jaded are the ones that were, you know, saying they were also having fun in their 20s.
sure,
And they're usually not settling down with you. Like they're, you know what I'm saying? Like these are typically the men that they live in the mindset like, oh, I could get more.
hmm
And so they go out and they continue to get more. And you know what I'm saying?
hmm
They end up being cheaters and shit like that. So it's
yeah,
like, yeah, he might be cool for a short time, but like in the long run, he's definitely gonna be out there cheating on you and sleeping with a bunch of women. So
right,
you know what I'm saying? So like that's where I see where like, you know what I'm saying, that bad advice is being passed down. And then also like on the men's side, it's like you got a lot of dudes in their 30s, 40s, 50s telling younger guys like, hey, don't worry about women, go get your money up and stuff like that. And it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, your main focus wasn't trying to be rich. Your main focus was trying to have a wife. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And so like, you know what I'm saying? Like the advice is so bad because they're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? You got to go fuck a whole bunch of women. So that way, when you get your wife, you don't suck in bed. Why does
hmm
that even matter when what you're trying to accomplish is finding a wife? You know what I'm saying? Like a
exactly,
wife, if you're not sexually satisfying, that person will coach you through it. Like you can always grow from there.
exactly,
You know what I'm saying? And then like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you got to be focused on earning a whole bunch of money. Why?
hmm
You know what I'm saying? Like if
right,
you earn enough to be able to take care of a family, like it doesn't matter if you make six figures. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million. It doesn't matter if you make 20,000. If you make enough
exactly,
to where you and your family can be comfortable, then you know what I'm saying? Like you're ready. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Everything
the
else,
all the monetary isn't going to land your relationship. It might attract people, you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
But then they get in and they see who you are as a person, and all they're gonna want to try and do is siphon off that money from you. You know what I'm saying? Because if
exactly,
you're a millionaire and you a lame nigga, like all they're gonna do is marry you and then divorce you and get alimony
exactly,
or have a kid
exactly.
by you and get child support. You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's another thing. I agree with you. I just want to add to that as well. Whether you like fucking all these bitches and whatnot, or you've putting all your effort towards making money and whatnot, none of that necessarily means that you're again cultivating the necessary skills for a successful relationship. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm,
not just gonna match you. You're gonna get more opportunity, sure, but opportunity doesn't guarantee success. You know what I
mm,
mean? And I think that's a big issue that a lot of guys can't really. I think a lot of guys try to systematize. approaches to life
Hmm.
instead of focusing on what works for them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And emphasizing what works for them. Like they see other is working for other guys, so it must be true in all cases. But it's not. It's not true. Like
Yeah.
people are subjective, and there's contingencies, there's influences from past generations, there's cultural influences, there's your own preferences, there's their preferences that you're trying to pursue.
Mhm.
It's a lot goes into this. You know what I mean? And I'm an individual where, like, I would like to have excess money, but I don't. I know I don't necessarily need it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I think this is true for I think this is true for a good amount of guys. I just think good amount of guys get wrapped up in this rat race of trying to compete with other guys that they fail to realize that a lot of the advice that Red Pill gives is not applicable to every single type of woman.
Yeah.
It's only applicable to certain types of women
Yeah.
who these types of men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they talk about like, hey, you need to do this because in tradition, like, this is what like. My thing is like there's no such thing as a traditional man or a traditional woman anymore. Like
Yeah. So
everyone just kind of adapts to what's going on at that time. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, like, a lot of women are coming in and saying like, oh, I'm a traditional woman. I want to be in my femininity and do all this and stuff like that. I'm that just sounds like you want to be a bum. You know what I'm saying? And
right,
you're like, oh, I'm looking for a provider, man. I'm like, the thing is, like, yes, like some men used to provide when it was easier to do it off of just one job. But the thing is, like, that hasn't been the case for most of history. You know what I'm saying? Like back when people were farmers and serfs and peasants and shit like that. Yeah, the wife was out there, you know what I'm saying, helping with the field, churning butter, knitting, crocheting, whatever the fuck. I mean, she was doing a lot of things. She wasn't just sitting at home
right,
doing nothing. And then she was also
right,
raising the kids while also cooking dinner and all that stuff. And they ain't have ovens and shit. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
she was over a hot ass fire pit. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, you couldn't go to a grocery store and buy a chicken in a pack, nigga. So she had to sit there and defeather that motherfucker, cut out the
Yep.
guts. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
this is real work. This is
Real
real
work.
work, disgusting work that most people wouldn't do today.
Yeah.
So it was like I don't like that argument where they're like, oh, you know, men used to build houses. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Men still build houses, but like the average man does not build houses. Like
Yeah.
the average person doesn't even have the ability or the knowledge. They have the ability, but they don't have the knowledge to do it from the past. And then you also got to think in the past, the standards for that house would have been so much lower. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Because I mean, what
Yep.
were they building? Like 800 square feet house? Nigga,
No.
anyone can put up a little 800 square foot house. Nigga, like, that's a shed, nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you put up 4 walls, nigga, cut out a little bit of a window. But I bet you that shit don't got no central AC unit.
Right. Exactly.
That shit is not insulated, so it gets cold as fuck or hot as fuck depending on the weather. I mean, like it's you know, you at least got a roof over your head, if you could even call it that, because I'm pretty sure that nigga don't know how to put shingles up, so that motherfucker leaking every time it rains. So you know what I'm saying? And don't let it snow, because I'm pretty sure this nigga don't know about trusses. So if too much snow get on it, the fucking roof gonna cave in.
Yep.
I mean, look, I get it. Men used to do that, but I mean, it's a different time. And the thing is, it's the same thing with women. Like women used to do things that they don't anymore. Like you don't have to sew. You can just go to the grocery. You can just go to the store.
Right.
You don't have to fucking catch a chicken and break its neck and motherfucking tear out the guts. You just go to the grocery store.
Pick
You
up a
don't
piece of
gotta
chicken.
be down by the river. You know what I'm saying? Washing clothes and shit like that. Like you gotta wash your dryer.
Yep.
It's like let's kind of work together and stop putting like these weird ass standards and just say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm looking for a relationship. You're looking for a relationship. Let's see if we mesh together.
Right.
And even if we end up not really meshing as well as we thought we did, let's try and develop some good habits of being in a relationship rather than going out with a whole bunch of different partners. Because the thing is, if we stay together for a year, maybe 2, and we decide at the end of the day that we're just not a good fit for each other, what we've built in that year or 2 is habits of being with a partner. You know what I'm saying? Of not
Yep.
being selfish. Of saying, hey, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. I should also pick up something for my partner. Or hey,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I'm buying these clothes. I wonder if my partner would also want something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the thing is, like, once you start building those habits of, hey, it's not just me, it's me and such, then it becomes so much easier when you get into your next relationship because that's just, you know what I'm saying? That's just muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know I'm going to dinner. Maybe my partner wants to go. Or hey, I know I'm doing this. Let me let my partner know. You know what I'm saying? Because like when you're single, you can stay out all night and it doesn't matter. But if you're like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to the bar with my friends. I need to text my partner and let them know, hey, I'm going to the bar. Here's my location. If you need anything, I'm with such and such. Just call him if I don't answer.
Right.
Damn. You know what I'm saying? And that, like, people that aren't used to being in that dynamic, they're the ones that push harder against it, saying like, oh, why do you need my location? Or hey, why, you know what I'm saying, why do you get upset whenever I go hang out with my friends and stuff like that? Is because one, I just want to make sure that you're safe. You know what I'm saying? And this is man or woman, because like imagine your husband goes out drinking with the boys and then he just doesn't come home that night.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not even like on a cheating thing, like he might have gotten hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, that night. And like you need to have his location so you can be like, hey, this was his last location. Cops, somebody go out there and see if he's okay.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So like people that are used to being in relationships would all, you know what I'm saying, they would be like, okay, you know what I'm saying, I'm used to this, blah, blah, blah. But people that are just like single and don't really want to mesh into being a cohesion of two people becoming one, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, and you know, say, no, this is too much. You're insecure. You're this. You're that. You're like, it's not really insecure. I just want to make sure that you're safe.
Right. Right.
Even if I can't do anything about it physically, I want to be able to be alerted so that if something is going on, I can alert the authorities to come out and help you.
Exactly.
So
I don't think people like think about that because that's how I was in my last relationship. I would ask her, I'm like, hey, it has nothing to do with any sort of suspicions about your activities or what like that. It's more so like you constantly get into terrible situations, like ridiculously terrible situations, and I want to make sure that you're good. You know what I mean?
mm,
You have some line of communication or some line of security. Like you know how girls get into Ubers and then they're like, "Hey, I'm in the Uber. This is the license plate," something like that. Like that's perfectly. I'm not against that.
yeah,
If I had a daughter, I would love for her to do that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I want you to be safe as possible, and a lot of guys want that for their significant other. You know what I mean? I get what she's saying though.
yeah.
100%.
Who knows? I'm just yapping at this point, so